Welcome to In Focus, Alabama. I'm Jenna Enoch. This is our new public affairs show that focuses on the issues that impact Alabamians. Well, each show will feature in-depth, balanced conversations with a diverse group of newsmakers, from elected officials to community leaders and expert analysts. We're going to kick things off here in Montgomery at the Alabama State House. The building opened in 1963 and was originally home to the Department of Transportation. State lawmakers moved in the 80s while the state capitol building was being renovated, and they've remained ever since. But the legislature's time at 11 South Union Street is now limited. Construction is underway on a new building next door, with lawmakers hopeful to move in next year. Among them, President Pro Tem Garland Gudger. He is our very first guest. Mr. Pro Tem, thank you so much for being here.
Of course.
We appreciate it. Looking forward to our conversation. So where we are sitting right now in the seat of government is not going to be it much longer, right? You are looking at a new space. It is under construction and hopeful to be in there pretty soon.
That's right.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's a long time coming. And it has really went through a lot of different channels and filters, because when you start building construction from the taxpayers' money, from the State House, and building a new State House, people question a lot. And so we went through all of the different channels, and even the people that usually are not on our side are saying, y'all need a new State House. And so we're blessed that everyone has come together, even the media, and saying, hey, we're going to go forward. And part of that is just because this house was built in the 60s. For AlDOT, it was never meant to be for the legislature. And over time, it's just been each year gone down a little bit more. There's some issues with this for ADA compliance. Some people are trying to get in the restrooms and they can't. You're trying to get all of our constituents and all of the Alabamians be able to have access to see what we're doing on the floor. The IT is not up to date. And so there's things that we want to be able to allow the Alabamians to see, and they can't, or they can't access the building. And so it's time for us to move into the 21st century and have a new building. We have done a lot of research to find out what's the best and most efficient and best architect to put it together. We've visited the different communities and, different state houses that they have put together, and one is in Virginia, and we said this is what we need to do, and it sounds like everything is on budget and on time.
Well, you've watched the progress from across the street, and so what's it like to see it come up? And it's a beautiful building.
It is. It's a gorgeous building, and we're thankful that we're able to have that as we move forward. But it's something that we need to showcase, because this is the house of the people. And so as busloads of kids come in for education every day, and people come in learning about the education process and civics, from the high school to college to the interns, everyone can walk in there, including the general public, and be able to see it. Now, if you're not able to, you're still able to have the best IT possible, so everyone can watch that online now, which we've never had before. So we're excited about the potential and the future of that particular building.
As you were thinking about the community, how people can afford businesses, just living day to day. So what do you think can be done on the state level to make sure that Alabama remains competitive, but also very livable?
Thank you for saying that. Small business, I'm in it every day. So my wife and I, we are the janitors, we're the salesmen, we're the one that runs the books. We're the ones that are on the floor talking to people and going and sourcing the material and bringing it back and doing the buying and the selling. It's amazing to me that every year there seems to be more red tape. There seems to be more issues with us trying to just run our business, and that's from the federal government and the state government. So, since I've been here in 2019, we've continued to try to lower that red tape, but there has to be a way that we can continue to help small businesses, corporations, big box retail as well, that affects the individual paychecks of the people that are the hardworking Alabamians of this state. Our job is to keep the money that they're making as much as we possibly can in their pockets. But everyone nationwide has felt a crunch, and that crunch is cost of goods are going up in expenses, but their paycheck is staying about the same of where they were. So they're feeling this pressure on that. And so I feel like it's my job, especially being a small business owner, how can we relieve that valve so that they have a little bit of tension that is released off of their backs? And that is something that if we're going to continue to make Alabama the best it possibly can be, we need to be looking at every avenue, whether that's tax cuts, whether that's cutting red tape and the permitting fees, anything that we possibly can do, we're going to be looking at this session.
Well, on the topic of being competitive as a business owner, but just being here, you're also an advocate of strong and powerful education, the importance of it. So talk to me about what's needed to ensure that schools are really helping to develop the workforce of the future. future and talking about not only just your basic math and reading scores, but just thinking about science and how you can do things differently to become even better workers someday.
First of all, reading and arithmetic, as they say, right? Both are the foundation for anything in education. We're going to continue with the Literacy Act and the Numeracy Act that we've started, one in 2019, which we've moved up 15 points nationwide in that, the state of Alabama has, in the Literacy Act. And then also in 2022, we started the Numeracy Act, and that has brought us up 8 different spots. But part of moving the needle for education is making sure that we have thought-provoking classes, that we have teach them also about debt and financial freedom that they've got. And we've been so focused on tests for the last 15, 20 years, we've kind of went a different direction because we thought that was where we needed to go, is to test us and everyone in the nation. But our goal right now is to say, how do we get everyone to think differently than what we have in the past? And so making sure that education is a top priority and making sure that we go forward with Career Tech, which we put $100 million through our K through 12 program last year for Career Tech. We'll be doing $150 million, it looks like, this year as we move forward. And those are regional areas that people can learn different trades and certifications, so that if they do not want to go to a 2-year or 4-year school or go to the military, they have a certification where they can go straight into the workforce and learn, whether that's auto body, cosmetology, wiring and electricity, whether that's framing houses. But there are jobs out there to be done, and Alabama is such a magnet right now for industrial growth. We need all of those jobs.
Well, you represent District 4, which encompasses Marion, Winston, and Coleman counties. So what are your constituents saying about the top concerns for 2026?
I think part of that is back to what we said. They feel the crunch in their pocketbook.
Yeah.
How do we relieve that pressure? So that's number one. Number two, how do we go forward with making sure that Alabama stays on the right path? In the polls that we've done, people say, you're on the right path. We're just trying to fix that gap of a pay increase or lower expenses. So we're going to continue to do that. We have some very local bills that are coming up, and each county has a local bill that I will be presenting this week. And then from that, some of those are Smith Lake bills that are going to be focusing on waterways and boating. Other are development and economic development. Some want me to be focused on mental health, and that is also dealing with the jail systems that's over like in Marion County. So we're trying to look at a little bit of everything that affects our local district in District 4, but so is everyone else in the State House. And so we're going to make sure that we give everybody their correct time and turn to be able to represent the people back in their district the way they need to. This is one of the earlier pictures of the Capitol, which it looks very similar to that still anyway, as we move forward. And then this is Dexter Street coming from here all the way up to the Capitol. You can see the dome.
Yeah.
Obviously the fountain is still down there, which is just cast in bronze and is beautiful at night. Wow. You'll see it lit up. We're blessed to be able to be here and today and talk about the issues that we talked about, but we always want to have respect for the history and the past that we've done.
And in the new building, you can add that at some point maybe.
Yeah, we will definitely will.
We are here in Montgomery talking with state leaders about the current legislative session and the business at hand. We are here in the office of House Speaker of the House, Nathaniel Ledbetter, and we are so looking forward to this chat here to learn more about what everyone has been up to now that you are back in session. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. I
appreciate
the opportunity.
What would you say are some of the key points and things you're looking ahead to accomplish?
Yeah, one thing we've been working on with the staff is Career Tech. I think for our state that's important. We have about 139 school systems, but only have about 80 Career Tech facilities. So as Speaker, we're able to put $100 million to expand those programs last year. We'll put another $150 million in it this year. I think it's so important that we give all the kids opportunities, and if they can find a career pathway, certainly would be positive for a productive life when they graduate. So that's one thing we've been working on. And in Alabama, we only have about 30 to 32% of the kids with college degrees that's graduating. So we got to make sure that we give opportunities to the others to be successful.
Everyone has been focused on the economy lately, and when you think about Alabama, it is unique because you have 2 budgets.
Right.
But changes in federal funding shifted and additional cost premiums are in those states. Can you talk a bit about the impact here as you look to those two budgets and what those
Yeah, I mean, we've been successful. I think one of the things that's been positive for our state is that we've been conservative in our budgeting process. Unlike other states, some of the federal money that come in, they use them to hire people. We didn't do that. We put them in programs that will be long-lasting for our state, that will have an impact for the future. So for us, it's been positive. And, I know those funds are going away, but the good thing about it is we didn't put them in positions where we have to depend on them. We put them in a position where we can make things happen for a long term. So I applaud our members for doing that. One of the things we certainly are proud of is the expansion of broadband. We were near the bottom in broadband. Now I think after this year, I think we'd probably be in the top 15 in the country.
Will the end of federal subsidies for the ACA is a cause for concern? And when you sort of think about the hospital system in the state, speak more on that. How can we prop up the system looking ahead?
Yeah, I think it's the thing about the hospital system, healthcare in general, it's not just in Alabama, it's across the country. I mean, there's a lot of issues that we're facing, and certainly we are also facing them like other people. I think ACA has proved it probably wasn't the best approach. And it looks like to me that this administration may be taking a newer approach, and we'll kind of see how that plays out. But I think it's cost the taxpayers way more money than was anticipated. And so I'm kind of interested to see how that helps and how it affects our state. Of course, we live in a rural state. When we have issues across our state with the number of hospitals that's closed, and some of it has been through attrition, just the fact that travel is easier now than it used to be. But we also got some deserts out there that we need help for people in rural areas that we don't have. So hopefully, whatever the president and the Congress comes up with, it'll be positive for our state. That's our hope.
You have focused a lot on crime, and last year this time you were really discussing crime-fighting legislation. So kind of talk about your hope of hiring more law enforcement officers. Were you successful there? And looking ahead to how you want crime to be fought.
Yeah, Alabama's been lucky. I mean, we've been blessed over the last few years. I think the governor's done a good job. I think our legislative body's done a good job. Our growth has been something we've never seen in our lifetime, and some things that was hurting us in some of the metropolitan areas was crime. So we put a package of bills together last year to try to address that. One of them, we put together what's called a MAC unit, where if you got a high crime area, whether it be in one of the metropolitan areas, they could go in and try to help relieve some of that pressure with local folks. And it's worked. The other thing we did, we passed a bill called Back the Blue, which does away with frivolous lawsuits for police officers. We want our police officers to know that we have their backs. And I think that is probably the most pro-life police officer bill that's been passed in the country.
You talked a little bit about education a few minutes ago, what sort of degrees folks in Alabama have, and as you look to priorities within education, science is one, as is math, and the reading scores are up, which is really good. So when you think about the strides that education has taken here in Alabama, and you reflect on that and what you hope in the new session, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think, the thing, if you ask me one thing that excites me probably as much as anything, it would be how we've improved in our test scores. I mean, between the Numeracy Act and the Literacy Act that the legislative body passed, our scores are up over 20 points in both reading and math. Not only that, we've really been strong with the STEM classes and STEM programs. And I think that's going to move the needle. We did a RAISE Act last year, and actually what it does, it kind of allows you to fund different schools based on need. If they're in a rural impoverished area, then they get a little more funding. If they got EL students, they get a little more funding. If you got students with special needs, you get a little more funding. So I do think that's going to be impactful. We passed the ban on cell phones in schools last year, and I was really shocked about that going around schools in my district and how appreciative the teachers was. Said our kids are finally having conversations in the lunchroom we hadn't seen in years. I really believe that will continue to improve our test scores.
And many people will say that distraction, if you remove it from the classroom, then you start to see things happen. So I think that was interesting.
Yeah, I think one of the things that probably was the most impressionable about me was the fact that, studies had shown when a kid pulls out a phone and looks at it, it takes them 20 minutes to get focused again. And if you think about that, that's an entire class. So I really think we'll see a positive movement in our test scores because of it.
And you think about adults, sometimes we are distracted by the same thing. It may take us the same amount of time.
We're all guilty, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Speaker Ledbetter, thank you so much for your time today.
No, thank you. I've enjoyed it.
Our look at the current legislative session and some of the big agenda items continues. We also paid a visit to House Minority Leader.
Representative Anthony Daniels, thank you for joining us for this conversation. We look forward to our chat.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm looking forward as well.
Absolutely. So one of the bigger issues that is facing residents and businesses alike right now is, of course, health insurance premiums. Can you talk about what's happening here in the state of Alabama, but also that access to affordable care is a big concern?
Well, certainly in Alabama, as a small business owner, I've seen my health insurance for my employees double in the last couple of months, and when we get in those notices. And so it's a very real thing. I think for me, seeing the plight of the country, seeing the subsidies being in limbo right now from the Affordable Care Act, and having those subsidies being in limbo right now is going to drive up costs significantly. And so what we anticipate from a budget standpoint is there are about 120,000 people in year one and about 80,000 in year two, which is a $19 million hit to the general fund budget in the state of Alabama. But it also has a trickle-down impact where small businesses that are in these towns where there are hospitals, the largest employer, and where hospitals are now about 29 hospitals are operating that are at risk right now. About 84% are operating in a very dire straits financially. And so it's a trickle-down effect that impacts the overall economy and impacts people's ability to purchase insurance, also purchase goods and services. And so we're just really concerned about that and the impact that it's going to have on our economy as a state.
You've been pretty open about your recent experience, your surgery. Would you talk about that, how it sort of influenced you and your work?
Well, absolutely. You know, when you think you're healthy, you're working out, doing all the right things that you're told to do, and then all of a sudden you're faced with a health challenge. That's what most Alabamians and Americans are faced with each and every day. But it's just that being in this position as a lawmaker, as someone that's on the front lines and something that have hit me head on, it does bring heighten the awareness of my colleagues and getting them to really bring down the walls, the political walls, to have real conversations about healthcare. And the comorbidities that exist in a lot of communities across the state of Alabama. And so for me, it was a heaven sent. You know, literally they talk about having your rib next to you, but I had my kidney next to me as well. And so my wife, and being in healthcare, she understands the importance of it. And so she's a donor. She's my donor. And so for me, you know, it was a life-saving surgery where my kidneys were declining at a record rate. Back in February, I was able to get to about 18% function, and within 4 weeks, I was down to 4%. And so I had to get on dialysis, at-home dialysis, for a couple of months before having the surgery. And so we're certainly grateful for that opportunity. But I think about the challenges that people that don't have the means are going through. And so for me, it really shed light on the issues that others may face. Those individuals that are in communities that don't have access to a nephrologist, that don't have access to the highest level of care, and don't have access to quality insurance. And so for me, I'm taking my second chance to go out and be an advocate for those individuals that are organ donors, as well as making it more, increasing the opportunity for individuals to be recipients of organs and to save their lives. And so I have a piece of legislation that I'm introducing that will incentivize employers in the private sector from a tax credit standpoint that would allow an organ donor to be off and be paid while they're off during the time of recovery, as well as state employees.
Other than healthcare, though, can you sort of outline some of the other priorities of the Democratic caucus this season?
Our focus is going to be on working class people and affordability. Right now, you're seeing the cost of groceries become extremely unaffordable. Wages may have increased, but when groceries and the goods and services are increasing, you're basically back where you started. And so we're going to look at putting $100 million, making an offer to put $100 million to encourage and really spark the economy on the agriculture side. Getting local farmers to be able to produce more, encouraging and providing an incentive to grocery stores that buy their products from local farmers. The other thing we're looking at is reintroducing the bill to eliminate the income tax on overtime pay. Okay. That piece of legislation started in the state of Alabama. We passed it. It sunsetted this past June. But what it was doing for the workforce participation rate was, it did wonders for the workforce participation rate, but more importantly, it put more money back in the pockets of hardworking men and women.
You used to be a teacher.
Yes.
So talk to me a little bit about you're being an advocate for a greater emphasis on science and English, and what do you think about the scores in Alabama and your hope for students in the state?
And so I think that we've made tremendous gains in math and reading. I think we're on the right trajectory there. I am a little bit concerned about science. I'm in an area, in the Huntsville area, where science and technology is really big, and it's a huge driver of our economy. And also a lot of military bases across the state of Alabama that also reside on, focus a lot of their attention on technology and science and technology. And so seeing that how we're compared to other states nationally in the area of science really concerned me. And so I want to make certain that we're placing emphasis on science, even if we're adding science into the reading curriculum. Meaning that if a child is reading a passage and we're incorporating science into the reading, it also gives them science and reading.
Dual purpose,
and then and so it'll help those kids kind of build a foundation.
My last question, during your time in the State House, what would you say is sort of your biggest success, something that you're incredibly proud of that you'll take with you as you move on in your future?
I do think that the overtime bill was one of the major victories for us, but having the ability to be invited to have a seat at the table, being in a super minority, but being able to have a seat at the table to really shape policy for the state of Alabama and to work with my colleagues across the aisle on things that are important to the state of Alabama, and putting the partisanship to the side.
Representative Daniels, thanks so much.
Well, thank you.
A big thank you to all of our guests, and a big thank you to you for spending part of your weekend with us. We've enjoyed our visit at the Capitol. I'm Jenna Enoch. Until next time.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. To keep up with important issues impacting our communities and hear more conversations with the people who are shaping the future, subscribe to our channel. You can also download our app or find Spectrum News on your TV for balanced, in-depth political coverage and more.